Today is Friday, January 5. It's our third Speech 110 class. Glad you're here, Hudson. Welcome. All right. We've got everyone. All right. I've got you all marked as here. Cammie, glad you made it in. Good for you. All right. So today we've got a few items on our agenda as we're moving through class today. First of all, we want to start with a brief review of what we've done the first couple of days, just to see how things are gelling with you. I hope you are able to review some of the concepts, the main ideas that we've covered in the past couple of days. And after we do that, we'll look at our other goals for class today regarding chapters 10 and chapter 14. This is stuff you're going to use with this first speech this weekend, so I hope it will help you as we move along. Before we start all that, if you looked in the Wolf Den, you saw your response to your quiz that you took yesterday. Everybody did really well on it. So that means you're listening in class. A lot of you had read the chapter beforehand. That's the way you be successful in here. I know it's quick. We talked about that the first day because really in 3 class days, we've done 6 chapters. That's a lot more than we would do in 3 days, of course, in the fall or spring semester. It's about 3 times as fast. So that's why you have homework every day. That's why you have homework over the weekend. But just dedicate yourself to it and keep pushing. Try not to get overwhelmed, but just take them one step at a time. And I've written out everything that's due for you in your syllabus. We'll also go over that at the end of class just to make sure. And I am available over the weekend. If people have questions, please email me. If it's a huge problem and you need to talk about it, we can jump on a Zoom call for a little while. That's fine. If you feel like you need that, just let me know because I want to make sure that everybody stays up to speed with the class and that you can get all your work done as it's scheduled because that's the way everyone can be doing real well in here. And that's my goal, is that you all are successful in here too. All right. So reviewing day and 1. What we're doing in Speech 110, day 2 and 1, excuse me. What we're doing in Speech 110 class is we're expanding on existing skills that you already have. You've all been talking for a good number of years. And now what we're talking about is taking your ideas and turning them into messages and planning them out and sharing and hopefully communicating with a goal, a clear goal and purpose with your audience. And yesterday we talked about that's the reason why you're presenting your speeches. It isn't just to get a grade. Yes, you're going to get graded. Yes, you'll be able to graduate from Newberry after you pass this class, and you won't if you don't. But that shouldn't be a problem. You should not think about that either. You should be thinking about what's my purpose with my speech? What is it that I want to be communicating to my audience? Now, every speech has what we call main points. These are the items that you identify, which I hope you have for your first speech already. These are the, you just keep working on that, Courtney. If you can't be on camera today, then I understand. Thanks for letting me know. These are the main points that you want your audience to remember in the speech. Now, how many main points do most speeches have? Now, like when we look at the examples, how many main points do most of those speeches have? Who remembers?
3.
Good. Yes, who said that? You said it so fast, I didn't get to give you credit.
I did.
All right, Kayshana, that's good. And what I'll tell you is that most short speeches, whether they're classroom or not classroom, should have between 3 to 5 main points, maybe even 2 to 5. Okay, because you don't need to have so many main points that it's tough for your audience to remember. And you may have 2 or 3 in this first speech, and either one is fine. Either one is fine. So you have main points, and then when you put underneath the main points, what do we call those? The expansion, the details. What do we call those points that are underneath the main points? Anybody know?
Subpoints.
That's right. Good. Good, Deanna. Yes, they're the subpoints. That's all the details. That's the supporting information. And when you remember when we looked at outlines yesterday, we talked about how A and B support main point 1, which is a Roman numeral. And then you have Arabic numerals 1, 2, 3, regular numbers like we would write. Those are supporting B or they're supporting A, and they should all kind of be even that way. Not in the numbers of points you have, but even in the fact that 1 and 2 both support letter B. And A and B and C all support the main point that you're talking about. The Martin Luther King example and his triumphs and what he did at different points in his career is what we looked at yesterday. So look back at those if you want to. That's in chapter 11 of your text. We talked about a model of the communication process. You're going to be acting as the sender and the receiver in this class. as you listen to your classmates' speeches. You'll be the receiver. And you want to try to make sure that you control your environment as much as you can and eliminate the noise. And noise sometimes, interference, that was that squiggly line in the middle of the diagram, if you remember it. But interference sometimes is not always auditory. Interference, this is why we talk about, have a neutral background. Try to dress appropriately for your speech. Have good lighting so we can see your face. Okay, those kinds of things as well. You can control that, and I hope that you will. We also talked about differences and similarities between public speaking and everyday communication. Big differences are you have to be more planned. People don't plan out everything they're going to say in their life. I don't think anybody can really do that because you never know what someone's going to ask you, right? Okay. But you do want to plan out what you want to say in your speech and practice it. You should use more formal language. And we talked about eliminating the vocalized pauses. If you find when you watch your speech that you're saying or like or a lot, you may want to try it again. And the way I've encouraged students to avoid this in the past is to practice your speech aloud with somebody. And every time that you say a vocalized pause that doesn't need to be in there, have them clap or have them go stop or something like that. And then start the speech again and try to get a little further. These are short speeches, so hopefully you don't have to do it, 45 times, but if you do it 2 or 3 times, hopefully that will help you. And the other flip side of that, if you say if you say like once or twice, don't worry about it. I mean, that's human. I do that when I'm teaching. Of course, I haven't practiced every word of what I'm saying to you, but go ahead and leave those. That's just the way people talk. What you don't want is the vocalized pauses to be intrusive. What should you do instead of a vocalized pause? Who remembers that? What should you do instead of a vocalized pause? Don't overthink it. Pretty simple. It's half of what I just said.
Just be quiet and take your regular pause and
just take a pause. That's right. If you get lost in your outline because you're talking to the camera like you've been asked to do with extemporaneous delivery, then just stop for a moment. Oh, I don't know where I am. Don't say that aloud. Just stop for a moment and then continue. That's fine. That helps the audience to give them a break on their ears and let them catch up a little bit too. Okay. So don't try and be perfect. Try and be really good. We talked about speech apprehension. A lot of you mentioned this on your introductory questionnaire as something you want to work on in this class. That's great. So one of the keys is preparation and practice. That's what you're going to be doing in this class. And you also, yesterday, we also talked about a 3-step plan that you can begin any speech. Now, there's a lot of components to each of those steps, but let's talk about the 3 broad steps. Who remembers what step 1 was from yesterday? What's the first thing you have to do for a good speech? Find what?
Find your topic.
Good. Find a topic and a good topic, right? One that meets the criteria, one that's limited. We talked about criteria for a good speech topic, so look back at that. Now, you've probably got your topic for this one already. You need to, but for your second and third speech, you're going to want to find a good topic and put it up against that criteria. Great. What's the second step after you find a good speech topic? What do you have to determine?
Your purpose.
Good, Cami. Yeah, determine your purpose. Yeah. And who helped her with that? Was that you, Hudson? Good for you. Yes, determine your purpose. And we talked about the general purpose, which is given to you. What are the 2 different general purpose infinitives that you're going to be using in this class? The 2 different types.
Inform or persuade.
Right, Kensley, to inform or to persuade. And I want to encourage you to always use the 2 because that makes it more active, right? To inform, to persuade. That's the action you're taking with your audience. So always remember that, everybody. Good. And then your specific purpose starts with that general purpose, to inform or to persuade. And then it adds your topic to it and gives your speech clear direction with exactly what you want to communicate during your speech. The 3 major races in alpine skiing. To inform my audience of the 3 major races in alpine skiing. That was the specific purpose of I think that was on your quiz yesterday. Okay. So yeah, so that's what you want to try to do is really pinpoint your purpose. And then the last step after finding a good topic, determining your purpose, what do you want to create? The last part of your introduction, what's it called? You actually say it in your speech, in your end of your introduction. What is it? You should know what this is by now, everybody. You have it on your topic outline, or you should.
Is it your idea?
Good, Deani. Yes. Now, what characteristics? Who remembers anything about the central idea that you learned yesterday, or from your work creating your topic outline? Tell
It
me
has to
about the
be-
central. Go ahead.
Has to be one sentence.
All right. What else? That's good. What's in that sentence?
Your main points.
It's a preview of the main points, Tori. That's right. So if you're talking to someone in your home or whatever, or you're telling some friend about your class one day, say, "What you been doing all this time? How come I haven't seen you in the month of January?" And you and then you say, "Well, I had this speech class. It was pretty intense, and I was doing 3 speeches." Like, "Oh, really? What was your first speech about?" Instead of just saying the title of your song or the title of the literature or the object that you talked about. I mean, you could start with that, but you should be able to say your central idea. You know, if it's another speech, the introductory, the informational research speech that's coming next, you could say, well, I talked about decaying bridges in the United States and 3 reasons why they're decaying because of overload, neglect, and weather. Yeah, see, that's your central idea. It's got to be that simple, that short, that to the point. And I hope that you have that for your first speech right now. We'll look at those in a moment, as I said. So this is all review of some of what we've covered the past couple of days, just to get you up to speed. Last thing we covered yesterday was the outline process. And that's what you started last night or yesterday by working on your topic outline, the TO. That's the first version of the outline, and it gives you purpose and direction for your speech. It becomes what we call the heading because you revise it. Now you've done your topic outline. You're going to submit that today, and then I'll give you some feedback. The earlier submit, I'll look later this afternoon. Hopefully I can do some of the responses today, but if not, you'll get it by tomorrow. You will get your response by tomorrow afternoon. I have an engagement in the morning tomorrow, so I'll get to them tomorrow afternoon. But you'll get that response, and then you create the preparation outline. Now, you don't have to wait for my response because we're going to talk about them in class today. So most of you should be really good with your topic outlines before you even turn them in. That's my goal today in class. So once you get your response, though, make sure to see if you have to tweak anything to clarify your main points or something like that. Hi, Faith. Glad you're here. And once you get that response, make sure that you make that revised topic outline the heading of the next outline. What is the largest outline in the process, the big one that you have to do in the next couple of days before you can get ready to give your speech? What's the second outline called? After the topic, what are you going to start working on this afternoon? That's my question.
Preparation outline.
That's right, Hudson. It's the preparation outline, and it's the major step in speech writing. You've got your setup with the topic outline. Now you've got to expand on all that. Add your introduction, your conclusion. Take the points, the 2 or 3 that you have, and add all your subpoints and sub-points. Okay, and that's what you want to try to do today if you can. It'd be great if you could get that done today. It's not due until Monday, but the earlier you start it, the more you have time to practice with it, revise it. That's the preparation outline. Then the last version of the outline is the one you use when you're giving your speech. Now, the preparation outline lists everything that you plan to say and all the actions that you plan to do. For example, when you plan to show visuals, when you plan to turn them off, when you plan to play a piece of your song for us. If you're doing a speech about a song, you have to play a piece of it. So you plan that in, and you should know exactly how long of the song you're going to play, because you need to know if it takes 32 seconds or if it takes 45 seconds, because that's a difference in your speech as you're timing your speech. And I hope that you'll practice with that to make sure you're in the time limit. So the preparation outline has everything in it. Before you give your speech, though, you want to take that preparation and whittle it down a little bit. What do we call the last version of the outline that you use when you're speaking your speech? What it's called? What's it called? I just said it. I was trying to give you a hint there.
Speech outline.
That's close.
Or
Speaking outline, okay? Because you use it when you're speaking your speech. Yes, your speaking outline. And what's the major difference between the preparation outline and the speaking outline?
The speaking is a lot shorter. It gives you more of your cues and keywords rather than the whole thing.
Great. It isn't a full sentence outline. The preparation outline is. The speaking outline has keywords and phrases to help you remember what to say. So it's shorter. I said remove about half the words, maybe 2/3 of the words. The other thing you remove from the speaking outline is the heading, which was your revised topic outline. You should know it by now. And then you remove the list of works cited because that's important on the prep outline. And if you have sources that you're citing, you should be saying them in your speech. We haven't gone over exactly how to do that yet. You may have sources for this first speech, you may not. If you did any research, tell us where you got it. That's all I'm going to tell you about this speech. We will cover that information before your next speech, which is where you have required source citations. So that's what you do. You limit it down. It's intro, body, conclusion only, and about half or 2/3 of the words. Okay? You take those out, about half or 2/3 of the words. That's a quick review over everything we've covered the past couple of days. Who has questions about any of that we've just covered? All right, then let's move forward. Our goals today, we're going to apply a lot of what we're learning and learn the nuts and bolts of introductions and conclusions. We will talk a little bit about the body of the speech since you'll be writing all of that over the weekend now. And we're going to first begin class with a review of your topic outlines. Then when we do introductions and conclusions, we'll learn the 4 functions of a speech introduction. We'll explore ways to create catchy introductions. We will identify 2 major functions of a speech conclusion, and we'll relate our introductions to conclusions. After that, at the end of class, we'll take about 10 or 15 minutes and talk about presentation aids. Mostly these are visual aids, but I like to use the term presentation aids because sometimes, like in this speech for some of you, it might be an audio aid, not just a visual aid. And we'll review the purpose, types, and effective use of presentation aids. So now we'll start with a review of the topic outlines. I hope you have it finished. If you don't, you're a little behind, but you have time to catch up today, and I hope this discussion will help you. Try to add in as best you can, even if you don't have it finished today, and maybe we can give you some feedback to help you get going with your outline. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to ask everyone to, as you review your topic outline, you can't read the whole thing to us, but I hope you got your name, the speech number, and type. Copy that from your eval sheet. Look at yours right now while I go through this list. Make sure your name is on it. Make sure today's date is on it. It's January 5th, 2024. Make sure that you have the speech number and type copied from your assignment sheet. Speech 1, informative, personal interest speech. That's the speech number and type. Everybody should have that on theirs. Okay. And then you want to make sure that you put your broad topic area in there. So your broad topic area should be either the name of your literature and the author, the name of the song and the artist, or the object. And it's not just a pen, but it's my special pen, or it's my pen that was a gift, or it's, something like that. Make sure that you write what the topic is. Then we get into the general purpose. What's the general purpose for all of you? Somebody say that. It's on there already.
To inform.
That's right, Kishana. It's to inform for everybody for this round. All right. Then you have to write your specific purpose, your central idea, and main points. And just like on your quiz yesterday, I wrote you all a note back. I said, use this format for your topic outlines. The main points come directly from the central idea. So I hope you used a lot of the same wording. We're not going to be able to check all of those today, but we will check the central idea and the specific purpose statements. So what I want to ask somebody to do, if you can share your screen, great. If you just want to say them orally, that's fine. I did open up screen sharing to everybody. And so anybody that wishes, I'm not sharing anything right now. So anybody that wishes to share, who thinks you can share your screen and show us your topic outline, and then we'll just talk about those 2 parts, the central idea and the specific purpose. Can anyone do that for us right now? Who's going to try it? I need to know who's going to try it. So, okay, Kensley, you want to try it? Were you raising your hand? You're just scratching your head. It's like an auction. All right, well then let's just do this. Let's just hear it. You need to go around the room, want to hear your specific purpose, then your central idea. Say them slowly and clearly for us. This is a good time to practice your oral communication skills too. And if you're not sitting up when you say it, I don't mind if you're relaxing, but when you speak, try and sit up straight and speak clearly. Okay, so who's going to go first with your specific purpose, and your central idea. Let's just hear them. All right, we'll go around the room. We don't have time for people to be hesitating in here, folks. We got a quick class, okay? Olivia, let's hear your central idea, please, and your specific purpose.
Okay. My specific purpose is to inform my audience of the three ways the Bible verse found in Matthew 6:34 is inspirational.
Okay.
And then my central idea is the Bible verse Matthew 6:34 is inspirational to me, and how the verse Matthew 6:34 can inspire those to read it, as well as how the Matthew 6:34 from the Bible renders a significant impact on those who do not believe in the Bible.
Okay, good. So as I hear that, I hear your topic clearly. It's going to be the Gospel of Matthew. And when you're talking about a book from the Bible, I mean, they are called books, right? So the literature here is the book of Matthew. You can focus on the one verse, that's fine. But I think when you're saying it, it'll be a little bit easier for us to follow. And you can identify it's 34 in the subpoints when you read the exact verse to us, because that's not in your central idea. So I would simplify a little bit and just make your topic Matthew, the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 34. Okay, or no, it's verse. What chapter is it? Is it chapter 34? Is that what you're saying?
It's 6:34. Chapter.
Okay, good. So then your topic is Matthew chapter 6. That's the book of the Bible that you're sharing with us. Okay, and then when you get to 34, that'll be in your subpoints, and you can focus on that one. That's fine. All right, your specific purpose is really good. You can simplify a little bit. I would encourage you both for your specific purpose and your central idea to make it shorter. So the three things I heard 3 points. I think I heard 3 points. Is that what you were intending, Olivia?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So the third one was really long and had a lot of words in it. I'm wondering how you might chop that down. Say that central idea for us one more time, just the CI.
It's Matthew 6:34 is inspirational to me, and how the verse Matthew 6:30. Well, I'll change the verse Matthew 6:34 can inspire those to read it, as well as how Matthew 6:34 from the Bible renders a specific impact on those who do not believe in the Bible.
Okay, so you can simplify that to something. Matthew chapter 6 is inspirational to me. It's inspirational to others who read it, and it can encourage others who don't believe. You know, something like that. Keep it that short. I would,
Okay.
and you only have to say Matthew chapter 6 once in your central idea. You will repeat it in each of your main points as you write the main points. Matthew chapter 6 is inspirational to me is main point 1. Matthew chapter 6 can be inspirational to all who read it is point 2. You see what I'm saying? So just make them short and sweet and to the point. Okay?
Okay.
That's great. Thanks. Okay. Moving on to Ginny. Let's hear yours. Specific purpose and central idea, please.
Okay, so my specific purpose is to inform my audience why it's a car mirror, is inspirational to me. And then my central idea is my car mirror is inspirational to me because it provides me with a sense of self-worth, gratitude, and / thankfulness for life, and then a positive outlook on life.
So 4 points?
3. They're just,
Okay, say that central idea again.
I'm trying to pick whether I want to use gratitude or thankfulness. Which one would
Okay,
flip
so you
better?
choose one of the words. So it'll end up with 3 then, because they are kind of the same thing. Okay, good.
Yeah,
What do you all think?
it's just whichever one would fit.
You just figure out which word works better for what you're saying. Good. Okay, good. All right. And what is the object again? Just say the name of the object.
It's a broken car mirror, like a side.
Oh, a broken car mirror. Okay, I
Yeah.
got you. Okay. Wow. All right, that's fine. I got you. Well, there's a story behind it. We're going to hear it. Don't tell us now. We'll hear it in your speech. That's good. Okay, good. And just say that as 2 words when you say it, because I didn't understand it either time you said it a minute ago. Okay, just slow it down and make it 2 words. All right. So give us that specific purpose one more time.
It's to inform my audience why my car mirror is inspirational to me.
Okay, I would clarify that for you and just write 3 ways the car mirror is inspirational. Cut off the to me, because you're making it more about than to just you, right? You should be relating this to us as well and how it can be inspirational to us. Okay, so just cut the words to me. Now that can be added in if it's one of your main points.
Gotcha.
My broken car mirror is inspirational to me. That can be a main point, but you can't have it in your purpose as only to you. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And so everybody, look at yours. If you've got to me in your specific purpose, you probably don't need it there. Just maybe take that right out, even as we go through these today. But if it's a main point of yours, like it was with Olivia, and it's going to be with you, Ginny, that's one of the objectives of the assignment, just not in the whole purpose of the whole speech. Your purpose is broader than that for the speech because you want to relate it to others as well. All right, good. Do you have any questions, Ginny?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so you're going to choose one of those words and simplify that and go from there with 3 points. Tori, may we hear yours, please? Good job, Ginny.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I needed to be like more general about mine because mine's like customized.
Let's hear it. We'll tell you.
Mine's my customized infielder's glove, so I play softball, so I use my glove.
Great, great.
My specific purpose is to inform my audience of the 3 reasons my customized infielder's glove is inspirational. And
Mhm.
then my central idea was customized objects can be created to strengthen/build relationships, remember specific times in life, and symbolize a journey.
Okay, I heard 4 points there. Is that what you were going to do?
No, I didn't know if I needed to use strengthen or build, so I was just like brainstorming.
Okay, so you're just like Ginny. You're going to figure out one of those 2. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. All right, good. Now, what I would do is, what's the topic of your speech?
Customized infield glove.
Okay, it's your glove,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
your softball glove.
Yeah.
Maybe you just change it to that. It sounds really general, and I think that's what
Okay.
you're concerned about. What you
Yeah.
want to do is make it specific. And
Okay.
for the specific purpose, that was good. I would change reasons to ways because reason sounds persuasive, and ways is just
Okay.
sharing information. Okay. 3 ways my glove is inspirational. And
Okay.
then for your main points, say my glove is inspirational because, and that's the way you word it rather than customized objects. Just say my glove.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
And as you do the point about the audience and how it can be somewhat inspirational to us, just you're making a connection there. It's fine. Talk about your glove because that's your topic of your speech. Okay.
Okay.
So
Thank
that
you.
should be everybody. Your broad topic area is in your specific purpose. It should be in your central idea, and you should say it again in your main points. Now, if you're doing literature or if you're doing a song, you should have the title and the writer or the artist in the central idea, but you can just use the title in the main points because it's going to get really long if you say the title and the artist every single time in every main point. Okay? All right, let's go over to Cami. Would you mind sharing specific purpose and central idea?
My specific purpose is to inform my audience of 2 ways that the song Stronger by Kanye West is inspirational to athletes recovering from an injury. And then my central idea is the song Stronger by Kanye West is inspirational to me, and it also demonstrates the important significance that music plays in present day society.
So you have 2 points, it sounds like. Is that correct?
Yeah, because I feel like I can tie a
Good.
lot into both.
Great. Yeah, and in a 4 to 6 minute speech, you get about 2 minutes for each point that way. Then you have a little bit of time for your intro, a little bit for your conclusion. So think about that. And that'll include playing a piece of it somewhere too. So that's good. All right. So here's the thing. In your specific purpose, I would just shorten it and just end with the word inspirational because what you said in main point 2 is you're talking about the importance of music in society. That's beyond just athletes who are recovering from injury, right? And you want to make it more general than that. So just say inspirational in your specific purpose and cut it there, and then keep your main point, your central idea, just like it is. And then when you write your main points, what's the title of the song again?
Stronger by Kanye West.
Stronger. Good. Now that's a short title and it's a short artist name. If you want to say that in each main point, go ahead. Or you could just say the song Stronger is inspirational to the song Stronger is inspirational because it is, something like that. Or you can put Kanye West in both your points too. It's a short title of your song, so that's okay. Either way works. Okay. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, so when I'm talking about like how it's inspirational to me, can I tie in like the athletes recovering from an injury?
Absolutely. If that's what
Okay.
helped you, absolutely. That's a story we want to hear. Yep.
Okay,
Good.
thank you.
And just plan it all out and write what you want to say so you can time it. Tori and Olivia, when you finished, I don't know if I asked you if you had any questions, but do either of you have any questions?
No, I'm good.
No, I'm good.
Okay, good. Kensley, let's run over to yours. What do you have for us?
My specific purpose is to inform my audience of 3 ways the song Dream On by Aerosmith is inspirational. And
Okay.
then My essential idea is the song Dream On by Aerosmith is inspirational because it inspires listeners to keep dreaming their dreams, to live their life despite downfalls, and because it gave inspiration to the band at the time of writing.
Okay, great. I heard 3 points there. Is that what you're after? Good.
Yes.
Format's good overall. I'm thinking there was one thing I wanted to tell you about it. Oh, I don't hear a direct relevance to you in any of your main points. So you might develop that in subpoints for each of them. I'm not sure, but make sure if you need to change a main point to talk more about Kensley and how this song inspires you, do that. If you can work it in as subpoints in your other main points, then you're fine with that. Okay.
Do you think I could combine the first two main points? Because it's like both like talking about the song, like the first main points to keep dreaming, and then the second one's to like keep living your life despite downfalls. Can I combine those and then make one main point about me?
Absolutely, because
Okay.
then you've got one about audience or society, and you've got one about you, and that's
Okay.
the objective of the speech. Sure, and you could put them in either order, whatever you think works better. So think about the wording for it. You might change that wording altogether and just make a main point that encompasses both those, and those could be two sub points then, what you had for your main points.
Okay.
Yes, good question. Okay, good. And then that would change your specific purpose a little bit too. It's two ways. Yeah, we use words like ways for speeches like this instead of reasons, everybody, because reasons is more persuasive sounding. That's when you're trying to reason with someone and get them to agree. You don't have to get us to love the song. You don't have to get us to love this book or this object or to go get this object, or to listen to. That's not your goal with this speech. So that's why I'm encouraging everybody to avoid reasons in this one. Okay, good, Kensley. Thanks. All right, Kishana, may we hear yours, please?
My specific purpose is to inform my audience of 3 ways that the song Promises by Maverick City Music is inspirational. And for the central idea, the song Promises by Maverick City Music is inspirational to the religious community. It helps listeners stay motivated through rough times, and it also gives words of encouragement.
Great. The format's wonderful. You may remove the artist from the main points if you wish, or you may leave it. The other thing is, like I said to Kensley, I'm not hearing a direct connection to you, but you may be planning to develop that in the sub points. If you're going to include some personal stories in some of the sub points, leave it just like it is. If you hadn't planned to put anything in there about yourself, you need to, because that's part of the assignment. How does it inspire you? Okay.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for me?
No, I don't.
Excellent work. Diani, what's yours? Specific purpose and central idea.
So my general purpose is to inform, and then the specific purpose is to inform my audience that the song Go Big or Go Home by American authors is inspirational in 2 different ways. And
Good.
then the central idea, the song Go Big or Go Home by American authors is inspirational to me and for sports fans in our society. And then the main point is the
Okay,
song
that's
Go Big
good.
or Go Home.
Yeah, you go ahead and stop right there. That's good because you've got the format exactly right. The central idea, the specific purpose sound good. Your 2 main points should come right from the central idea, just like you were about to say. Just make sure the title of the song's in them, but you're good. Yeah, good. Any questions for me? Great work. Y'all are making this easy on me. Thanks. Okay. Let's see. Cammie, we heard yours. Hudson, let's hear yours. You're muted, Hudson. I don't know if you're talking. Okay,
Sorry,
good.
yeah,
That's fine.
it
Go
was
ahead.
glitching out. My specific purpose is to inform my audience on the historical significance and personal attachment to my great grandfather's World War II compass. And then my central idea is this compass is historically and personally significant because it was carried by my great grandfather during World War II, then handed down by my grandfather to me before he passed. And then my main points are
Okay, let's hold it right there. So go back to your specific, first of all, in your central idea, instead of calling it this compass, say my compass. It's
My
yours now,
compass.
right? You own
Yeah.
it now, right? You have it
Yeah.
too, right? Because you're going to show us.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, I've got it all.
Good. All right, terrific. So, and let's just make the central idea much more simple and save a lot of that great stuff you just said for your sub points. So
Okay.
just make your main point number one much. Tell me your specific purpose again, because you almost had a preview right in there too, which was good. Go ahead.
Yeah, to inform my audience on the historical significance and personal attachment to my great grandfather's compass.
So then your central idea can be, my compass has great historical significance. My compass carries a great personal attachment. Or you say, my compass, I'm personally attached, some way to word it.
Yeah.
But those two phrases, if you like those, personal attachment, historical significance, that should be your main point. See how general they are? And then you
Yeah.
go into all those great details you were talking, how it was passed down, etc., in your sub points and your sub points. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Good.
Sounds good.
Questions?
No, I'm good.
Good. Deani and Kashana, I said yours were really good. Do either of you have any questions? I forgot to ask you. No? Okay. All right, good. Sam, let's hear yours.
My specific purpose is to inform my audience on 3 ways why my 60-degree wedge is inspirational to me, or just inspirational.
Good. Put a period after inspirational. What's the next?
My central idea is my 60-degree wedge is inspirational because it was my grandfather's, and I never got to play golf with him, and it's the only club I ever chipped in with.
Okay. So what we're hearing in Sam's is kind of the opposite what I said to Kensley and to Kashana. I'm hearing the great personal significance of this. And so now you want to make sure that, and you might be doing this in your sub points, make sure you also add in some ways that this wedge could be inspirational to others. Okay. So if you need to add a main point about that, you can. If you're going to develop that as you talk about the significance to you in the 2 ways you said, then you leave that in there. Okay. So that's how you want to revise that. And it might be a matter of putting it into your sub points and sub points, or you may want to add a point. Okay. Any questions, Sam? Great. Faith, let's hear yours. You're muted, Faith. Yeah, there you go.
My specific purpose is to inform my audience of 3 different reasons why the song The Climb by Miley Cyrus is inspirational. And then my central idea is the song The Climb by Miley Cyrus is inspirational because it's relatable, it motivates you to keep going, and it inspires listeners to keep pushing through tough times.
Okay. All right. Our main, you may have different ideas about subpoints for 2 and 3. They sound somewhat similar. So make sure as you're developing them, if it sounds like you're saying the same stuff, combine them. And you could have 2 points, and that's fine. That's something you could figure out. What I did not hear in yours, like we said for Sam, was the clear personal relevance. And again, you can develop that in the sub points as you talk about how it motivates people to push through. Give us a personal story or 2, and maybe you're going to do that in each one. You do not have to, everybody, you do not have to have a main point that says is personally inspirational if you're going to share sub points in all of your main points or more than one of your main points. So just make sure that you all are meeting the requirements of the assignment and sharing the relevance to yourself and to society or your audience. If it's not a main point, then you have to do that in your sub points. Does that make sense, Faith?
Yep.
Okay, good. Well, you're in good shape either way. Good. Any questions?
No.
And finally, Courtney, we can hear you, Courtney, if you turn your mic on. Let's hear your specific purpose and central idea, please.
So I did the same one.
Which one? The climb?
The climb.
Oh, wow. Well, what are your sub point? What are your main points? What's your central idea? Or let's just hear what you wrote before you change anything. Let's hear what you wrote.
The song The Climb is inspirational to me and others because it displays a message of perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
And my main point, the song The Climb is inspirational to me and others. I wanted to say like a generational thing, but I didn't know how to really word that.
Okay.
And the second point is the song The Climb gives a generation the strength to keep going. But I can
Okay.
just change mine.
Do you want to change yours, Courtney?
Yeah, I'll just change mine.
It might be better if you did. I mean, you're sounding like you're talking about different things, and certainly the personal relevance would be quite different, I imagine, for the 2 of you, because you have different life experiences. So I don't want to say you have to, but if you feel like you want to, that's fine. What I didn't hear was a strong connection between your central idea and your main points. And you want to make sure as you rewrite it that you get that. For example, if you remember the quiz we took yesterday, it said, the specific purpose was to inform my audience of the 3 major races in alpine skiing. And then the central idea was the three major races in alpine skiing are, and then it listed them, the slalom, the giant slalom, and the downhill. So that's the way you want to think about it. Just make sure that they're connected like that, okay, when you rewrite it. And for everybody, most of you did that just fine. Just make sure that you're previewing, because remember, you say the central idea and the main points in your speech. The central idea comes at the end of the introduction. You're setting the audience up for what is to come. And then you use those same words when you do your body of your speech. You'll say, first, let's look at the first race in alpine skiing, which is the slalom. You know, that's what you'd do if you were doing that speech. And then when you get to your conclusion, everybody, and this is what we're going to talk about today in a moment here, because we're done with all the topic outline reviews now. What we're going to talk about in conclusion is you'll give us a review of the main points. You preview in the intro, you review in the conclusion. And that's really your central idea, again, in past tense. Today, I hope that you understand the two ways that the song XYZ by ABC is inspirational. They are, and then you just say them again, just in the same words you said earlier. Okay? So that's what we're going to talk about. Do you have any questions, Courtney?
No. Can we just re-go over mine after the class
After
ends?
class? Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, good. All right, terrific. So nice job, everybody. Everyone came in prepared today. I'm so excited. That's awesome, because that's what you want to keep doing. I'm very impressed with this class so far. So keep going and doing your work and doing it on time. This weekend's an important weekend, and just take it step by step and get through what you have to do. So now that we're done with that, we're going to talk about intro, conclusions, and visual aids. I'm going to go back to the slide you probably saw when we were starting our class. Let me stop that for a second. I want to make sure I did it the right way. Okay, yep, great. Beginning and ending your speech. There are a couple of concepts that is related to this. Okay, you're seeing the chapter 10 slide, right? All right, terrific. A couple of concepts that are related to beginning and ending your speech, and they're actually psychological terms. Now, I'm no psychologist. I'm not a psychology major. Some of you have probably had the Psych 120 class or more psychology classes, which is fine. But the concepts that I'm going to talk to you about are called primacy and recency. And they're real effective in public speaking. Does anybody know what I mean by primacy and recency? Think about the roots of those words. Anybody have any idea what I'm talking about and relating it to public speaking? What does recent mean? Recency comes from the word recent. What does that mean?
Like how current something is.
Exactly. And what's primacy? Primary. What's that? Another word for that is what?
Like the first.
First, yes. So when you're thinking about primacy and recency, the audience is probably going to remember the first thing and the last thing you say. That's why the introduction and the conclusion of a speech are so important. And there are techniques that we're going to learn. I said there's 4 major purposes of the introduction. This is what you want to try to accomplish as you are going through your introduction. And this will help the audience because it's going to give you a strong start. First of all, we don't start our speeches with introducing yourself. You don't have to do that at all. Okay? You don't have to do that at all in this class. Other speeches you may have to. And if there's a time to do that, you still don't need to start with it. You need to start with something that captures the audience's attention. If you read your chapter, I think the term that Dr. Lucas uses in your textbook is to gain attention. I like to use the word capture. It's a little more active. It's a little more engaging. Think of how can you capture our attention. Then the other functions of the introduction is you want to introduce your topic to the audience. Make sure we know your topic by the end of your intro. That's pretty easily done if you use the central idea that all of you said a moment ago, because you say it in there. You want to preview the main points, which is also in your central idea. And the other aspect of the intro, the 4th function, is you want to establish your credibility and goodwill. Let's go through these terms and these ideas a little bit more specifically now and a little more slowly so you can get them. But here are the 4 functions of the introduction. You want to capture the audience's attention and get our interest, reveal the topic and maybe relate it to us, establish credibility and goodwill. Those 2 terms are the new ones. If you don't know what those are, you will in a few moments, or if you read your chapter, you probably do. And preview the main points. That's your central idea. So remember, as you're doing your preparation outline, you start with the topic outline, which is the heading. You copy and paste the central idea into the intro, and that's usually the end of the intro. and you copy and paste the main points into the body, and then you'll build on each of those with subpoints and sub-subpoints. Okay, so these are the 4 functions of the introduction. Let's talk about capturing attention. Lots of different ways you can do it. You can relate the topic to the audience, state the importance of the topic. You can startle us. You can arouse our curiosity with a provocative question, perhaps, or a statement or a quotation. You might question us. For this class, because you're recording your speeches, all of your questions will be what we would call a rhetorical question. And you might do this in face-to-face speaking too. By rhetorical question, I mean you pose a question, you want us to think about it rather than answer it. Some speakers in a smaller size audience might pose a question and expect a real answer. And you can do that a number of ways. You clarify for the audience. You could say that by a show of hands. Then the audience knows they're supposed to respond. Or you could say, who would like to answer this question? Just set the rules for us. Or if you want it to be rhetorical and it's a face-to-face situation, you can say, think about this for a minute. How many of you have ever been followed by a bully? Okay, see, you're getting the audience engaged on your topic. All right, so you might tell us a story, you might use a visual aid. If you choose story, remember your speech is short. It's 4 to 6 minutes. Do you think you can have a 2-minute story as your attention capturing device in a 6-minute speech? No, that'd be too long. That'd be a third of the time you possibly have. So keep your stories short if you're going to use them in our speeches. Let's listen to this example of how this student related his topic to the audience, and tell me if it engages you as this, because this is the first lines of the speech. This is how the speaker started.
You're being chased by an object of unspeakable horror, yet your legs can only move in slow motion. Each step takes unbearably long, and your frantic struggle to run faster is hopeless. Your pursuer gets closer, and your desperation turns to terror. You're completely helpless, eye to eye with death. And then you wake up, gasping for air, your heart pounding, your face clammy with sweat. It takes a few minutes for your heart and breathing to slow down. You reassure yourself that it was just a dream. Soon you drift back to sleep.
All right, so that speaker right there was trying to relate the topic to the audience. That was just the beginning of the intro. That wasn't the whole introduction. But what do you think this person's topic is going to be? What do you think the broad topic area is for him?
Nightmares.
I think so, Faith. Yeah, I think that's a great guess. Yeah. I mean, again, we didn't hear the whole thing, but did you hear how he tried to engage you? He created a fictitious scenario, and it was probably something that a lot of people have experienced once or twice in their life, or more than that. So that's relating the topic to the audience. Okay. Other ways you might
You're being chased.
the audience's attention is by telling a story. Let's listen to this one. And as you listen to this particular student, try to remember some of the imagery, the visual imagery that she creates while telling it.
There I stood, wearing a surgical mask in the middle of a large, brightly lit room. In the center of the room were 5 figures, huddled over a table. I found it difficult to see since everything was draped in blue sheets, yet I didn't dare take a step towards that table. And then one of the figures called to me, "Angela, get over here and take a closer look." My knees buckled as I walked through the sterile environment, but eventually I was there, standing over an unconscious body in the operating room.
All right, so who remembers any of the visual imagery? Now that story, by the way, was 33 seconds. That might be good for a speech of 4 to 6 minutes, but it might be a little long too. I believe she probably had 7 to 10 minutes for her speech, just a guess. All right, but what imagery do you remember from that speech that she gave, that story she told? Did she make you remember anything?
When she said sterile, she already alluded to the fact that it was going to be an operating room or a hospital of some
Good.
sort. And then with other context clues, it
Great.
developed it before she said it.
Great, Jenny, good. Anybody else have any comments? Anything she made you remember to set that scene?
Her knees buckled.
Good, that's a clear image. Yep. Anything else?
Everything was draped in blue. Like
Good, the blue sheets. Yes, that's an unusual. Good, Olivia. Excellent. So you see, when you use language like that to tell a story, you're creating good visual imagery. One of the questions you had on your intro questionnaire was about reading literature. When good writers write, they create images in readers' minds. And when good speakers speak, it's the same principle. If you can create some pictures in our minds, specifics like that in a story, that's going to be better storytelling than if you're just kind of telling the facts rather neutrally. I was in a room and I was watching an operation and they said, come closer. I mean, that's kind of what she said, right? But the way she said it was so much more effective than the way I just said it. So think about that as you word your points and you capture our attention. Another way to begin a speech might be using visual aids. Let's look at this and talk about it after.
Take a look at these two pills. Do you notice a difference between them? How about these two? Do you see a difference here? How about these? To the naked eye, these pills are indistinguishable. But at a chemical level, they are very, very different. In each case, the pill on the left is real. It will help you get better. The pill on the right is counterfeit. It will not help you get better. In some cases, it may even kill you.
All right. So again, attention capturing device. Hers was about 40 seconds. You might not have that much time. If you were doing that speech, I would say use 2 of the examples or even 1 of the examples because, you know, they worked, but that was pretty effective, wasn't it? The visual aids, they looked exactly the same to me when I looked at those pills, right? So yeah, so that was another good way to capture audience attention. Right now I'm thinking about where she's going with all this. And that's what you want your audience to do. You want to engage us. So that's attention capturing devices. Another function of the introduction is, of course, building your credibility. That's perception of the speaker's qualifications. We want to know you're qualified to talk about the topic. So think about this. If in this speech, if you're speaking about an object, you probably need to tell us when you got it, how you got it, the circumstances, not the whole story maybe in the introduction, but just saying something like my grandfather's and then continuing, that builds some credibility right there. Okay, saying how when you first heard the song, perhaps, or who introduced you to it, or when you first read this book or piece of literature you're sharing. That kind of stuff builds your credibility for us in this speech. In future speeches, building credibility, you always talk about your experience or your research with the topic. That's how you build credibility. And in the introduction, you want to say something as simple as after 3 classes in biology plus extra research for this speech, I've learned that plants, you know, if you're doing a speech about a certain species of plant, that's what you want to talk about, your environmental biology classes and your research. And then you'll give us the specific research later in the speech. But just saying something like that helps the audience understand, okay, I get it. I see that Hudson has done some work on this and maybe he knows something about this topic. That's all you want to do. You want to make us believe that you know something about the topic. Now, you can't lie and say you've done it if you haven't. I mean, you can, but that's dishonest. Don't do that. It'll come back at you at some point, especially if you have a question and answer series after your speech. All right, goodwill. This is related to credibility, but this has to go with topic selection and approach to topic. It's the audience perception of whether you have our best interests in mind. In other words, if someone has said today that their specific purpose was to inform my audience of 3 ways that you can obtain a false ID so you can drink before you're 21. I probably would have said, no, that's really not a topic you can do in here. That doesn't engender goodwill. That's an illegal act and we can't have, you know, you might know how to do that. But I wouldn't want you to share that as a speech. That doesn't carry goodwill with it, you see? So you want to think about, none of you have a problem with yours, but goodwill, you want to try to make sure, take it a step further, take the topic you have, and that's why you're relating it to the audience as well. You know, what's in it for us? People are by nature what we call egocentric. And this was in chapter 1. We didn't go over this in class, but if you read chapter 1, you probably read that section. That means that we're concerned about mostly us at our cores. It's hard not to be. So what's in it for me? Give the audience a reason to listen as to why it's going to be valuable to them. And the last part of the introduction is the preview statement. For us, we call this the central idea. It's identifying the main points that you're going to cover. You say, today I'm going to talk about boom, boom, boom. You don't say those exact words, but you say, today you'll learn. If you can phrase it toward the audience, that's also more inclusive language for the audience. Today you will learn. There are 3 ways this song is inspirational, you know, and you say the title of the song. That's good. Say it that way rather than I'm going to talk about. Keep the focus off you and on your topic. All right. So that's the preview. So the 4 functions of the introduction, one more time, everybody. Let's go back and just check those real quick before we leave. There they are. Capture attention and interest, reveal the topic and relate it to the audience, establish credibility and goodwill, and preview the main points. Once again, if you're taking notes and you missed any of this, we're in chapter 10 right now, and you can go back to that and check this out and make sure that you've got it all. All right. When you prepare your introduction, here are your tips. Be concise. 10 to 20% of your speech time should be intro. So think about that. If it's a 5-minute speech, it's 4 to 6. So if you've got 5 minutes, 20% of 5 minutes, who knows? What's 20% of 5 minutes? Anybody know? Come on now. Do some math here. You got 5 minutes. What's 20% of that? Don't overthink it. It's 1 minute. There you go. So yes, so your introduction for this speech should be about a minute. That's all 4 of those items: capturing attention, establishing credibility and goodwill, and previewing the main points and introducing the topic. You got about a minute to do all that. If it goes a little longer, that's okay, but then that means your points are a little shorter. But don't make it 2-3 minutes for your intro. You only have 5-6 minutes for the whole speech. All right, look for materials as you research, be creative. Finalize after the body is done. Lucas says to write the body of the speech first, and you've got your main points, so you can write the body of your speech first, and then go back and be creative with the intro and the conclusion, and work out the content in detail. Those are your tips for preparing your intro. Primacy. The first thing you say is going to engage your audience. Don't start with your name. Don't start with a greeting. Just capture us, just like you saw in those 3 examples that we saw on the videos. Here is a sample introduction. Let's listen to the whole thing. This introduction is 1:15. So if you're to do yours like this one, it's probably going to be good. And this is a very good example. As you listen to the attention capturing device, the establishment of credibility and goodwill, the relation of the topic to the audience, and the introduction of it, obviously, and the preview of the main points. They're all here. This is a really good intro. So listen to it, and I hope this helps you as you write yours.
Tonight, after the sun goes down, I'd like you to go outside, lift your eyes to the heavens, and gaze at the night sky. If it's clear, you'll be able to see the moon, some stars, and maybe some distant planets. Yet right outside our atmosphere is something not so beautiful, something that Scientific American calls a minefield in Earth orbit. Another name for this minefield is junk, space junk. Satellites that no longer work, pieces from spent rockets, debris from collision of man-made objects. Together, they form a floating landfill that orbits the Earth at speeds of over 18,000 miles per hour. The European Space Agency estimates that there are hundreds of thousands of pieces of space junk. I first learned about space junk last year in my physics class. Now, after doing research for this speech, I understand why there's an international effort to clean up the landfill whirling around our planet. Today, we'll look first at the history of space junk, then at the way it's affecting space exploration, and finally, at some proposals scientists have advanced to clean it up.
Real good introduction there, everybody. Did you hear that preview at the end in the central idea? So what's her topic? Who's got it? I know you
The
heard
amount
it.
of space debris.
Yeah, space junk. Space junk, she called it. Good, Courtney, good. And what is, how many main points was she going to have at the end? Did you hear? It was in her preview. It's a common answer. I'll give you a hint. She's going to have 3 points. All right. So this is recorded in the review of our class. That was an excellent introduction. She also established her credibility. Do you remember anything she said to let you know she's qualified to talk on this topic? What were some of the things she mentioned?
She learned about it in her physics class last year.
And what else did she do? That's experience. She also talked about her additional research, and she gave us a hint at a source from the European something she said, you know, the European Space Exploration Society or whatever she said. Yeah, so she was telling us that she's done some research on this. That's the way you want to just hint at your research in the intro and then get more specific with it in the rest of your speech. All right, so that was a sample intro. If you like that one, and I said it was a perfect example of a good, effective introduction incorporating all the goals of it, then go back and watch this, find it in the recording. Okay, good. Let's move on then. The conclusion of the speech. You got to begin well and you have to end well. Two purposes to the conclusion. Here they are. You review the main points, which summarizes the speech, and you want to give us closure. In other words, you need a great last line. Plan it and practice it so you don't end with, okay, I'm done. All right. You don't want to end like that. You want to plan your last line, practice it, and use it. And before that last line, you should give us a very clear review of the main points. Back to our quiz example, if I was giving that speech, in my conclusion, I would say something like, so today, I hope that you've learned the three major races in downhill skiing are the slalom, the giant slalom, and the downhill. And then I would give some creative line about ending and going to Colorado for their next ski vacation, you know, then you'll know, whatever. Okay. You think of something, but you have to have a great last line, because I don't have a great last line because I'm not doing that speech. But you want to try and make sure you accomplish these two purposes in your conclusion. So you may have what's called a crescendo ending. You can build to a zenith of power and intensity like Dr. Martin Luther King did in his speeches, or a coach does when they're pumping a team up for the game, or something like that. A lot of politicians like to do this at the end of their conventions. So everybody's excited about voting for them, right? Crescendo endings. It's the same as the term in music, if you've ever heard it in music, where the music gets louder. All right, that's a crescendo ending. You may also have what's called a dissolve ending. This doesn't mean you get quieter and fade out like this. No, don't talk like that. But you want to generate an emotional appeal by fading to a dramatic final statement. That would be a way that you can also end your speech. So you want to think about what the whole tone of your speech is, and whether you want one of these two kinds. You might just have a great last line that's neither of these as well. But think about those as options and see if you want to do that. All right. And you want to give closure to your speech. So make sure you review your main points and you give us closure. You might end with a quotation. You might make a dramatic final statement, or you might refer to your introduction. Here is a way that you refer to an introduction.
In conclusion,
we're going to skip this one and we're going to go to this one right here. This would be the referring to the introduction in your conclusions. Everyone take a listen at this.
Toby Waite and his family saw the billowing smoke over the horizon, but it seemed far away from their home in Big Creek, California. That night, however, Toby woke up at 4 a.m. to a pitch-black night vibrating with an intense orange. The wildfire was upon them. Toby, his family, and their 3 dogs hopped in their car and sped away, the hungry fire pursuing them down the mountain. This was just one of countless scenes from the 2020 wildfire season on the western U.S. It was the biggest wildfire season on record, burning an estimated 10.3 million acres. At least 43 people died directly from the fires, reports Jeff Masters on Yale University's Climate Connections website. And the number of indirect deaths topped 3,000. These numbers are going to get worse before they get better. Remember Toby Waite and his family from the introduction of my speech? They managed to escape the blaze with their lives, but their home and belongings went up in flames. So did the homes and belongings of over 10,000 other families that year. We can't stop climate change in the short run, but we can reduce fire losses with better planning and regular management. It's up to us to create a future where devastating wildfires are the exception, not the norm.
All right. So that's a really good way that you can bookend your speech. I like to use the term bookends because bookends literally hold books together on a shelf, right? And when you think about bookending your speech, your intro and your conclusion can hold the speech together when you refer back to it in your conclusion. So that was good. Maddie Skinner, welcome. Please hang on right after class and we can get caught up, okay? That'd be good. Glad you're here. Okay. So we're talking
Toby
now
Waite and his family
about
saw the
conclusions, and when you have tips for preparing your conclusion, like tips for preparing the intro, look for some materials while you're researching. This is a great line. I don't know if Lucas has this in the text. Yeah, it's in your textbook in the chapter that we're covering right now, which is chapter 10. Conclude with a bang, not a whimper. Have a great last line and use it. That's my translation for that for you. Be brief. We said the introduction was 10 to 20%, probably about a minute or so for your intro. You have probably about 30 or 40 seconds for your conclusion, everybody. 5 to 10% of your whole speech time. And work it out. The two purposes of the conclusion, review your main points, and give us a great last line for closure. Notice that when you read your textbook and look at the examples, and when you watch these examples here, I didn't show you the first one, but I showed you the second one. None of the speakers end with thank you. Now, it's polite to thank your audience for their attention. You do not have to do that, all right? If you're going to thank us, don't make it your last line, because that's not as strong as ending with some of the phrases like this. Like, plan your last line and use it. Don't end with thank you. And this goes for beyond this class too. When you're in a job interview, you certainly want to thank the folks for their time and for interviewing you, for calling you in. Do that and then give them another great last line about why they should hire you, because your goal in a job interview is to persuade them to give you the job offer. Not to thank them for the opportunity, but to persuade them to give you the offer. So go for that at the end. We could talk more about that another time. I don't have time today, but job interview is a whole technique of oral communication, and it's something you have to practice and work at. All right, so that's introductions and conclusion.
In conclusion.
All right, now we said you have to begin your speech strong and end your speech strong. When you've got those main points identified like you do on your topic outlines now, that's going to make the rest of the speech strong as well. And that's the body of the speech, where you say the main points and you elaborate on them. Please remember, folks, as you write your outline this weekend, look at the examples that are in Wolf Den for you to help you. There's one about the John Bon Jovi song, It's My Life. There's another one about a heart pillow. So you have an example of a speech about a song and a speech about an object. Look at those and make yours look like those outlines. You'll notice that the speakers copied and pasted the central idea from the heading into the intro, and they copied the main points from the heading into the body. And then when you write the body, you just go ahead and you make sure that you elaborate on all those main points, but say the main points again in the body and then elaborate on them. So you say your main points 3 times in your speech minimum. You say them in the introduction as you preview, you say them in the body, then you go through them, and then you say them again in the conclusion. And that strategic repetition, it's called in oral communication, that helps your audience remember the main points, which is the goal of your speech. Good? Questions over introductions and conclusions? All right, well, we're going to take a few minutes now and talk about presentation aids. Presentation aids are required in your speeches. For this class, you have to, maybe you won't have a presentation aid if you're doing a piece of literature or a song, you may just have an audio aid. But if you are doing an object, you've got to show it to us. Remember those little pills they showed us on the video, on the PowerPoints? If you have a small object, you may want to take some pictures of it and show them to us on the screen. If you're going to show an object to us, show it like you would in front of a class, but you have to have some visual aids. Okay, if you do not this speech, you will in your next 2 speeches. So let's talk about these now. And let's see. Okay. By looking at some examples of visual aids. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to move through these kind of quickly, because this is chapter 14 of your text. And I would encourage you all to make sure that as you look at chapter 14 of your text, you take some notes on it. I'll put that back up in just a second for you, everybody. Okay, wanted to make sure I was sharing the sound, and I am, so here we go. All right, so why do you use visual aids first? Well, first of all, they will offer the audience clarity. They will offer the audience more interest. They help us retain the information. That's what retention, right? They'll build your credibility. When you have nice looking presentation aids, everybody, that helps your audience believe you know what you're talking about, because it shows you put some care and some time into the speech. And they can also be very persuasive. Visual aids can be very persuasive, and presentation aids overall. So there's all different kinds of presentation aids. We're going to go through each of these a little bit here. Objects. Let's take a look at how this student used an object in
There
their
are 2 steps to CPR. First, you should check to see if the person is responsive. If they're not responsive, call 911 immediately. It's at this point that experts used to recommend that you give mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. But recent studies, such as the one led by Dr. Michael Sayer of Ohio State University and approved by the American Heart Association, have concluded that mouth-to-mouth is no longer necessary. Instead, simply begin chest compressions. Begin by finding the center of the person's chest. You're looking for the notch directly beneath the breastbone. Now place the palm of your hand just above that notch and interlace your fingers, one hand on top of the other. You want to keep your arms straight and your elbows locked to create enough pressure. Your movements should be strong enough to compress the chest 1.5 to 2 inches. To get the heart going, you're going to need to pump fast, about 100 times per minute while counting out loud. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5.
All right, so you see how this student used the object as the visual aid, and he also used himself as a visual aid, because remember, you are always a visual aid too, whether you want to be or not. So make sure that you plan on that, and if you want to gesture and use your own person as a visual aid of some sort, then plan that right in. When you're using photos or drawings, you want to enlarge them. Please never pass around an object when you're in a face-to-face situation. That's just dangerous and distracting to the audience if you're passing something around while you're talking. Because even if there's only 12 people in the audience like we have here, if you were to pass an object around, if we were face-to-face, one person gets it and you're talking about it and then we're on to the next. Put them on the screen instead. It's much more effective that way. Have the object with you, but put them on the screen instead. Same thing for this speech. If you have an object you're sharing, a couple of you are doing objects, make sure you have that object. And if you want to show us on the screen so we can get a more close-up of it, then please do that. Go ahead and just plan that out. This right here is a great visual aid. Why is this one good? Why do you think this one is good? Take a look at it, everybody. Someone share why you think this is good. What does it do to you as a watcher or listener of this speech?
It gives an active demonstration of somebody with dyslexia and how they view the written word.
Yeah, exactly. You can put, helps the audience to relate to the topic and the people that have dyslexia, of course. So that's a really good visual aid. Photos and drawings. Let's see how these are used, and then we'll talk about what this person did for a moment.
It's the largest religious monument in the world. The locals call it sacred, tourists call it beautiful, and the world calls it Angkor Wat. Built in the early 12th century by the king of the Khmer Empire, Angkor Wat is the symbol of Cambodia, even appearing on the Cambodian flag.
Okay, so you see how that student used this particular visual aid, right? Did he start with it up on the screen? No. What was the effect when it came in? I mean, because he was teasing you a little bit, right? His attention capturing device was to provoke you into trying to think about what he was talking about. And then, bam, it appeared right when he wanted it to. You know why? Because he planned it and he practiced it and it was very effective. So that's another way that you can use photos and drawings in your speech. Now, it doesn't always have to be a surprise like that. You might be very direct about it, like in the middle of the speech, as you can see in the chart here. But the point is, when you use photos or drawings or charts or graphs, talk about them. The visual aids don't speak for themselves. Your job as a speaker is to explain to us what you want us to get out of the visual aid. Graphs, you know what graphs are, right? Bar graphs, pie graphs. Everybody familiar with graphs? Give me a nod if you know what graphs are. Yeah, okay, good. And you can use any kind. So you see how this one works? The nice thing about this one is you've got a red line and a blue line. It's really easy to see, and you can talk about this and how much more people are spending now in restaurants instead of groceries. So that's a good way to do that, okay? The line graph, the pie graph. Line graphs show changes over time. What do pie graphs show? What do pie graphs show? You're looking at it right there.
Percentage
Yeah,
chunk of how
percentages,
much.
Jenny. Good. Yeah, they're percentages of a whole, everybody. That's what pie graphs show. And the nice thing about these two pie graphs, comparison between 100 years later, is you've got the same color coordination for all of them. Okay, so that's important. Think about those kind of things. You can make pie graphs in PowerPoint. And if you don't know how to do that, it's a good skill to learn. Try and look it up. If you want some help with it, I can help you one day on that. It starts with a spreadsheet. Now this bar graph right here, again, good colorization, lots of information on this slide, but it's clear what we're talking about with the different ethnic groups with these 3 different areas, and the bar graph helps show you what these numbers mean. So that's a good way to show percentages against each other, comparative percentages, in other words, or comparative numbers, is a line graph or a bar graph. You got the line graph for percentages over time, the pie chart for percentages of a whole, and then you've got the bar graph comparing different percentages or numbers. So use the one that helps show your statistic the best, because visually presenting the information, especially if you have numbers and a lot of stats, is much more memorable than just saying the numbers. All right, this right here is a chart. Let's it's just a simple visual display of information. Let's see how this student used the chart and the way they brought in the numbers.
Based on data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, this chart shows the 7 most dangerous jobs in the United States. By far, the most dangerous job is logging, which has approximately 133 fatal injuries per 100,000 workers. Next is fishing at 55 fatal injuries per 100,000 workers, less than half as many as logging. The next 3 jobs all have similar fatality numbers. Roofers at 40, aircraft pilots and engineers also at 40, and refuse collectors at 39.
Okay, so what do you notice about the way this student is presenting the numbers? Did he put the whole chart up at once? No, he decided to bring them in one at a time and talked about each one, and made sure that everybody knew that fishing workers is second, but it's less than half of the number of fatal work injuries than loggers. And that makes a point about how much more dangerous the first one is than the second. The other 3 were similar. They weren't exactly the same, but he brought all those 3 in at once just to save some time. So you can do things like this in your speech. And the key is, folks, the visual aids don't speak for themselves. The pictures don't speak for themselves. They're not worth 100,000 words, but you should explain exactly what you want us to get out of your visual aids. Charts. Okay. Video or audio aid. This is going to come into play for some of you in this speech. Every time I share these in the Zoom, when I go into my sharing, I have to click a little button that says share computer audio. That's why I went back. I wanted to make sure I had that connected for you. So make sure that when you're doing your speech, you click that button and just take your time, just like I do in this class. You got to go over, you got to hit the share button, you got to click computer audio, and then you click share on the document or whatever it is that you're sharing for us. Integrate. Integrate means you talk about your visual aids. They're there for a reason, and they're relating to something you're talking about. Don't just show us visual aids or play an audio aid at the end of your speech because it's required for the speech. The reason you want to integrate a piece of the music is because you're going to talk about it. You might talk about the lyrics that are shared, or you might want to show us that object at a certain time because you're talking about the glove, and you're talking about how it's worn or where it's signed or something, or the compass or whatever item it is that you're sharing with us. So avoid low res pictures or videos. Don't use it if it's not good quality. Get better quality or don't use it, because that just shows that you didn't, I don't know, it just doesn't look good for audiences. Unless there's a point you're making with it, then, I mean, there's always exceptions to almost every rule, but make sure that you try to avoid low res. You are always a visual aid, especially in face-to-face. For our purposes, we're going to see this much of you, what you're seeing of me right now, right? Okay, so make sure that your hair is back out of your face. You're wearing professional looking clothing. What I'm wearing right now is fine for these speeches, but just don't wear anything that has a lot of distracting images or wording. Don't be too casual, like in sweats or pajamas or something. Put on, and then when you give speeches in face-to-face, you should dress head to toe, including shoes, in a professional manner, like you would to impress somebody, or like you would if you're going to a job interview. So make sure that you do that as you're planning your speech, and figure out what you're going to wear. If you wear the same thing for every speech, that's fine. Just look good and look professional and be comfortable. Other than what you wear, think about your body and your gestures and how you might use them. And if you're going to use them, plan them out and practice them, because you're always a visual aid. All right, what else? Presentation technology. Yeah, you've got to be careful about how you use it, and make sure that you're not reading your speech from your PowerPoints. That's the wrong way to do PowerPoints. Anybody that gives a speech and they read you the whole thing, I'm just going to fall asleep. So you don't want every word on there. You notice on all these slides, there are keywords, and I'm not looking at them and reading them to you. I'm actually just referring to them every once in a while and showing you, but then you can, yeah, you don't want to overpower the presentation. I can glance at it, but then I come back because I have two screens. That's what I'm glancing at over there when I'm looking at over here. And to change the slides, I look over there to do that too. All right, presentation technology. You want to make sure you use that to your advantage as well. And when you prepare visual aids, well in advance, keep them simple, make them large enough, and limit the amount of text. Here's a real good example of a limited text presentation aid. It's clear, you can read it, it's got nice coloring, it's got a nice image. I don't know if you can do the whole fade thing like that. You don't have to worry about that. It could just be a picture, you know, something on there. You don't always have to have a picture either, but just make sure your visual aids have limited text. You almost don't want any sentences unless it's a quotation. You probably don't want any sentences on your visual aids. That's a really good example of a visual right there. When you prepare them, think about fonts and coloring and images. Fonts, yes, make clear, easy to read. No more than 2 per slide. You see 2 different fonts here. You see this one, which is a little fancier for the title, and then you've got real clear, straightforward information in the text right there. And make sure things are properly sized. Just look at this, folks, and you can see these are much better ideas for visual aids, and make them large enough. Depends on your room. It depends on your screen. For our purposes, for online, the fonts can be a little smaller because it gets enlarged when you put it on video. But when you're in a room and you have a TV monitor, you want to make sure that you make the font as large as it can be, and don't put too much information on one slide, and avoid these crazy looking fonts because they're just harder to read. High contrast colors, easy to see, and be consistent. You notice there's a style to all these slides because the textbook publisher gives me these and they demonstrate what they're talking about. And we already talked about high res, things like that. All right, last couple of slides here. When you're presenting your visual aids, avoid passing them. Make sure the listeners can see them, and only display while discussing. There is a feature in PowerPoint. Let's see if it, okay. Did it black out right now for you? Is it still on? Okay. That's my closed caption. That's because I hit the wrong one. I don't use this feature too much. Oh, okay. No, that's not what I wanted to do either. All right. Anyway, I think I'm hitting the wrong button, and I don't use this feature because we have so many slides in this class. But what I would encourage you to do is put blank slides in between your slides if you're going to have a long period of time when you're not talking. That way you don't have to stop sharing and then come back. Or you can, in this venue, you can just stop sharing, make your points. That's good. I'm talking to you now about what we just talked about. And then I'm just going to go back and I'm going to share the screen again to get to the next ones. And that's what you can do too. So any way you do it is fine, as long as you're in control and you keep the environment to where you're not distracting for yourself. Explain your slides. Remember, the slides don't speak for themselves. So make sure you talk. I've even talked about all the video slides I've shown you. We talk about them right afterwards because there's a point for each one. And check your room and equipment when you're doing the speech live. So all of these tips that you've just heard about visual aids, you do want to explain them and make sure that your audience gets the point of what it is that you want to communicate with them. All right. So today we went over all of your topic outlines, including your central idea and your specific purpose. If anybody has any questions about your topic outline, please stay in the class after. I'll stay with you. We won't record that piece of it, but we'll go through yours in more detail if you have questions. And if you didn't get a chance to do it or you changed it while we were in class, stay after, and we'll go over that right when we finish. You have a number of assignments this weekend because today is our last class until Tuesday. And on Tuesday, we want to make sure that you are ready for class then, and you finished your first speech by then. So here is what you have to do by next class, which is Tuesday, January 9th at 9 a.m. The 9th at 9 is our next class. And I'll update that invitation for you in the email as well. But the first thing you want to do is make sure you get your topic outline submitted today. Submit your topic outline today. We reviewed that Wolf Den assignment yesterday, so I won't show you again, but make sure that you go into your Wolf Den assignment and use the template document that's there and make sure that you upload that. There's also a sample topic outline right in your assignment. So if yours doesn't look like that, then make yours look kind of like that with your information. That's due today. Topic outline. Other assignments for the weekend. Write and revise and submit your preparation outline and your speaking outline. This is chapter 10 of your book. We went over that yesterday. Make sure that you look at it again, and the outline process handout, which is in your handouts tab. Those are due Monday, 11:50 p.m. I say they're due at midnight. If you get them in a little after 11:50, I'm not going to penalize you for that. I'm not that strict with the times, but you have to do your prep outline and your speaking outline before you record your speech. So hopefully you have those in well before the due time. But if you get them in before you go to bed that night, I won't count them as late. If you get your speech uploaded before you go to bed that night, I won't count it as late. Now, if it's, 6, 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, that's late because that's not the same day. All right. If it's a little bit after midnight, that's okay. All right. What else? Review the guidelines for online speech presentations. This is in your discussion forum. It's the first post in your discussion forums. If you have not gone there yet, and I did not see any new views on the video, you need to do that before you record your speech. And really look at the handout too, because that'll help you. We went over that in class, but make sure you look at that. Then you make your speaking outline, practice with it, your uploaded speech to YouTube, and then make it public, copy the link, and you put that in the discussion forum by Monday midnight. Okay, so you have 3 days. You have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and really you have Monday too. But make sure you get your speech uploaded by Monday night into the discussion forum, just the link to it. If anybody has any questions while you're working on this over the weekend, send me an email. Like I said, if I need to meet you on a quick Zoom meeting, I can do that too. And the last homework assignment, last two, review all the chapters we've done already. Here's what we've covered in the first 3 days. Chapter 1, 5, 10, 11, 14, and 19. Your book's free. It's in the handouts. Some of you have gone to it. I know that because I have user statistics and I can see who reads what in Wolf Den. I don't know if you knew that or not, but we can see how many times you opened up a certain handout, how long you were online, those kind of things. So go read your book again and just kind of look at the stuff in the sides and look at the review questions and make sure you're getting the main concepts out of the chapter so you can apply them. You also have some great handouts in your handout section. They're not great because I made them. A lot of people helped me make those. Other people who teach this class, but you've got handouts on delivery in there. You've got handouts on organizing the body of the speech and the outline process. So go look back at those and let those help you as well. And the handout on how you can effectively record your speech and upload it to Wolf Den. The process is in there. If anybody needs help with that, contact me this weekend or look at that video that I sent you because there's step-by-step in that video that I recorded on how you upload to Wolf Den. Excuse me, how you upload to YouTube and then the link to Wolf Den. And the last homework for class on Tuesday, we're going to be reading chapter 9. Now, everybody's not required to upload their speeches till Monday night, so we're not going to talk about your speeches on Tuesday in class because we have to have time to watch them. I have to have time to watch them too. We're not going to talk about them on Wednesday either. This week, we're talking about speeches on Thursday, a week from yesterday. So between Monday night, or actually Tuesday morning, and Thursday morning, you've got 48 hours to watch 12 speeches. And I'm also next week going to assign each of you a specific person to whom to respond. And you're supposed to write about your classmates' speeches, at least 2, more if you like, in the discussion forum. But that's not till next week. For this weekend, concentrate on these assignments I've just given you. They're all listed on your syllabus. If you forget, because that was a lot, I wouldn't remember all that if I was you. But they're all listed on your syllabus, and you may review this recording as well. It's 10:29 a.m. Does anybody have any questions for the group? If you have particular questions, I'll just ask you to stay in the meeting if it's about your own process. But does anybody have any questions for the group? No? All right. If not, then Maddie, if you would please stay. And Courtney, I think you were going to stay. Anybody else that wants to stay, please do. But if not, I'll see you on Tuesday. Thanks for a great first week, everyone. You're all on the right track, so keep going. I'll see you Tuesday.